Hi Homeworthy, I'm Nicole. Welcome to my West Soho apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, my name is Nicole. I work in finance here in New York City. I'm also a part-time content creator and own and operate 2 Airbnbs in the Catskills with my husband. And here we are in my West Soho apartment. Welcome. My husband and I were looking for a new apartment. We actually had moved to the suburbs of New Jersey during COVID, and we thought our time in the city was done. Fast forward a couple of years, we were commuting in and out of the city and realized that was not for us. We both work in the office almost every day, and so we started looking for another apartment, but this time in New York. So we looked high and low. We were very open in terms of neighborhood, but primarily on the west side. And we probably toured, 15 or 20 apartments because we weren't really set on an exact move-in date and if we really wanted to make the move back to New York. So we were kind of casually looking for a few months. We then finally had actually a brunch down the street from my apartment with a bunch of friends. And my realtor texted me and said, hey, there's an apartment in West Soho. I think you and Rob would really like it. And texted me the link, and I was like, okay, it looks okay. And I, tapped my husband on the shoulder at the brunch, and I was like, we should go look at this apartment. It's right around the corner, we're already here. Let's just look at it. And immediately there was an energy to this space that I can't quite explain. We were a little bit tipsy from our brunch with our friends, and we saw the view, and we were like, oh, we weren't expecting this. This is not what it really looks like in the listing. But it kind of looks like art, and it's very New York, and we like the view. The realtor for the seller, who owns the apartment, told the seller, there's this cute couple came in and they actually loved the view and they weren't complaining about it like other people. And the seller really liked that, and I think that played into how we were able to get the apartment because it was so competitive at the time to find one. This is my living and dining space. This is where we spend all of our time, and it needed to be very multifunctional for us. So dining space, living space, entryway. It also flows into the kitchen. And so when I first got into the apartment, the first thing I did was change out the lighting. It felt a little sterile in here, and what I did was got lighting from Etsy, and it immediately changed the vibe of the apartment and really warmed it up and really made it more my style. So I changed out the lighting literally on day 1 of moving here, had the electricians here. It was very important for me. Lighting completely sets the tone of an apartment or a home or any space really. And I got this piece here from CB2. It houses all of my trays, platters, and hosting things. So again, for everything to be very hidden and concealed. I actually got this piece of art from an artist named Meg Indy. She found me on TikTok and reached out to me to partner together on doing a piece for my upstate house. She was cleaning out her studio and had this big piece and posted it online and was like, I'm looking to get rid of it. It's hard to fit in most people's spaces because it is quite big. And I messaged her and I was like, I think this will fit my new apartment. My dad and my husband picked it up from Soho and carried it about 20 minutes over their heads. And I think a lot of people were staring and taking pictures, but it completely was the foundation for this space and instantly made the space feel warmer and uplifting. And I just styled it by adding a bunch of coffee table books, tried to pull in some of the colors from the painting, and anchored it with 2 lights, which I feel like illuminate the painting and really make it feel that much more special. So when you walk into the apartment, you're instantly greeted by our entryway, which when we first moved in, it felt like a hospital hallway is how I would describe it. It was very sterile. The lights were super fluorescent. And so I knew I wanted to do a warming and welcoming entryway. And so I incorporated some peel and stick wallpaper, and I swapped out the lights. You walk through and you're greeted by these 2 big, beautiful windows and the view that my husband and I really like. I have some haters online that ask why I would ever have a view like that, but we really like it. And then we have this dining room table. I was able to find these chairs that are pretty small, so we could see 8 people at this table, which is really nice for entertaining and having our friends over. From the entryway, you roll right into our dining space. I was able to find this beautiful marble tabletop on an auction and got it delivered here. And I then found these small chairs from CB2, and I love them because they tuck right under the table and I can see 8 people, which to me is a miracle in New York City. So I'm very, very happy with how this space turned out. I took this from my old apartment. It's a cabinet from Target, and I just have a bunch of my glasses and more not everyday pieces that I'm using for hosting, and have this here. It fit perfectly. And then I just layered it on with some artwork, an ice bucket, some more coffee table books, things like that. The hardest part about designing this space was making it as multifunctional as possible, letting each of its own space be its own space, but then also tying it all together. So like I said before, I really wanted this space to work in so many different ways, whether it's just my husband and I having dinner here, having our family over, having our friends over, watching a game. I wanted it to really work in so many different ways. And so I envisioned a bunch of different scenarios of when I would be having and hosting people and what that would be like. And then from there, brought in pieces that would allow me to achieve those goals. I think this is one of my favorite pieces in my apartment because of its storage solution. So I have this big credenza under here that has glass fronts, and it bothered me that you could kind of see everything and it looks sloppy. So I had an Etsy seller custom make this skirt for the table, and it gives it a really nice, clean, traditional feel, bringing back in more of the stripes that I have in my rug and I have in my entryway. So that was kind of the way I tied everything together, was through the stripes. And I'll show you, it houses a lot of stuff. So it's a great place to hide things, but then it also looks very clean and organized. And then on top of the table, one of my best friends gifted me a topiary for my birthday. And ever since then, I've kind of become obsessed with them. And so this is my little topiary table. I get them from the Chelsea flower market, and they just make me happy. I water them, they're pretty low maintenance. And whenever I don't have flowers in here, it's nice to still have some life. And I love the terracotta pots. It gives a little bit of a more European old world charm vibe, and I think looks really nice with the very classic skirted table. And again, just layered on some coffee table books. And funny story about the coffee table books, I actually found a lot of, I think, 150 coffee table books from an auction online. There was a designer that designed an entire building and staged it, and then was looking to get rid of all the coffee table books. So I got boxes and boxes of coffee table books, I think for like $200. One of my other most favorite items in my apartment is this sheep. When my husband and I went to the English countryside for a vacation together a couple years ago, we stayed at a hotel that in the bar, all the chairs in there and footstools were sheep. And ever since then, I became obsessed with finding them. They can be quite pricey, so I have been scouring the internet on Facebook Marketplace and auctions for probably the past 2 years, and finally found my very own sheep at a somewhat affordable price point. And it reminds me of my trips back in London and in the English countryside. And I think it just adds like a little more of a fun element. And I've kind of become obsessed with sheep ever since then. And I actually have 2 in my upstate house, so I have like my own little flock. Another tip I would share for those living in small spaces is to buy stools. So these 2 stools, we use them in so many different ways, whether it's having them be extra seating at dinner, or putting our feet up, or having people sit in front of us in front of the couch. It's just a great way to add extra seating for when you're having guests over. So these live here, but I bring them over here all the time. In this corner, I found these beautiful chairs on an auction. They are from the 1940s, and they are Danish with lamb's wool. you see a lot of replicas of these types of chairs now on, stores like Crate and Barrel and CB2, and I think that the silhouette is just so beautiful and really frames this window so nicely. So whenever we have people over, I show them the best view of Manhattan, which is right here. All jokes aside, it feels very New York to us. It's obviously not the most amazing view in the city, but hey, it feels very New York. It has this industrial vibe, and to me, like, the background kind of doubles as art. And it's temporary, but I really, really do like it, and have learned to love it over time. Okay, I have to share the story behind this picture here. This is a framed menu from a dinner that my husband and I had upstate just a couple of months ago in the fall. We went to this amazing restaurant called Stissing House. If you haven't been, put it on your bucket list. It's one of the best restaurants, I actually think, in America. And it was even better because at dinner, we look over and next to us is the Martha Stewart. So my husband and I had dinner next to Martha Stewart. We tried not to bother her too much, even though she's a big inspiration for me and I've always loved her. So at the end of the dinner, my husband asked her, "Martha, how's the coconut cake? Like, we're thinking of ordering that." And she had so many desserts on her plate, I think they kind of brought out a lot for her to try, that she said, "Here, have mine, you have to try it." Martha Stewart gave me a bite of her coconut cake, and at the end of the dinner, I asked her to sign my menu. So it's dated November 2024 and says, "Nicole, best wishes, Martha Stewart." So this is a piece I will have forever and reminds me of that night, and I love it. I would describe my style as I always lean a little bit more classic, but I love incorporating color, textures, and different pieces from different decades with different styles. So you'll find a little bit of mid-century modern, you'll find a little bit of, I have Danish chairs from the 1940s, there's stuff in here from CB2, stuff in here from Amazon. There's also things that I collect from all of my travels. So that's another important piece of how I decorate, is I want it to feel like me and my husband and our life together. So whether it's stuff that we've found in London or going to the English countryside, which we love to visit, or I found at an antique store upstate, I really like looking around and seeing all the little various pieces that really make it feel like our journey together as a couple. So while there is a lot going on, I feel like it all kind of ties together nicely. So then you walk through and we have this nice living room space where I tried to incorporate as much seating as possible because we love to have friends over and we love to entertain. So you'll find chairs by the windows, a nice long couch, benches, extra stools, things like that. This is my living room, and when I started designing it, I started with 3 pieces. This grass cloth console table, this grass cloth coffee table, and this mohair couch. So these are all very neutral pieces, and I knew I wanted the base to be neutral because I do gravitate towards colors and patterns and prints and coffee table books that I knew the color would come later on. And then I also grounded it with this stripe rug. This is from Rugs USA, which is a very, very affordable place to buy a rug. With all the high foot traffic, being in an apartment, I wanted something that was going to be durable and not show too many stains. And I have to say, this rug has done just that. I get a lot of questions about where this is from, and I really like how the stripes felt like it really anchored the room. And then after that is where I layered in all the fun stuff. So, I had these brown mohair pillows already from my previous space, and I kept them here. And then I added in this fun pillow print. I actually found it at a store when I was in Paris a couple months ago. And again, it just reminds me of my travels, which is why I love it even more. It's a beautiful classic print, but it has meaning for me. So then I have this little bit of a gallery wall going on, and my goal is over time to kind of fill the whole wall. I wanted affordable art like almost everyone does, and that's very hard to find, but I was able to find this print on Etsy by Cy Twombly, he's a very famous artist, but this is a print. So, it was $15 or $20, and then I just got it framed in a frame from Amazon. And again, this is a print from Etsy as well. And this little red frame was from Zara. I thought the little pop of red was fun. But these are two very affordable pieces of art, and I love them just as much as any other piece of art in my home. I found this beautiful, beautiful credenza on Facebook Marketplace. It is all covered in grass cloth and then has these gorgeous nail heads outlining the parameters of it. It is a great functional piece. It holds so much, and I absolutely love that it's covered in fabric. I would say that this is one of my most special finds. It was from Facebook Marketplace. It was from New Jersey. I think I had my brother rent a U-Haul and go pick it up for me. I desperately wanted it, and I will always have this in my home. And actually, it's like my husband's favorite piece, and he loves telling everyone the story of how and where we got it. My philosophy when decorating a coffee table is more, if you couldn't tell. So I start with layering on the coffee table books to create little different vignettes. So on this one here, I have all ashtrays. Two are vintage ashtrays that I found thrifting. One is from one of our hotels that we stayed at in Italy, and collecting matchbooks from all different places that we dine at in the city and elsewhere. And then I love boxes like this, and this is just from Home Goods, but it hides our remotes and a couple of other smaller things. And then something else I always get questions on is where I got this marble backgammon set from. You can find them on Etsy or Facebook Marketplace. I see them all the time, and it's just another fun way to add another element. So we have the grass cloth, we have the burl wood, there's some marble here. I also love, this is another signature thing that I do in both of my houses upstate, is to have an acrylic book holder and open up a book to a fun page. You can always change it around, make the coffee table feel different, and it adds height. So adding visual interest to keep your eye moving is what makes, in my opinion, a beautiful coffee table. So you're not focusing on one thing, you don't know what to focus on, so your eye's constantly traveling. I added this chair, this lamp, and this poster more later on in the design stage. I felt like when we had people over and we were sitting on the couch, I wanted to be looking at people. So although this corner is a little bit tight, I really did want to add a chair here. I found this chair recently from Crate & Barrel with a collaboration with Athena Calderon. If you don't know her, she's an amazing designer and a big inspiration of mine. And then I found this light at Home Goods or TJ Maxx, something like that. And again, this is another Cy Twombly print that I printed off Etsy and had framed in an IKEA frame. And then I added this fun stainless steel drinks table, which ties into my stainless steel kitchen. So now we're in my kitchen. When I moved in, or when I first saw the apartment, it felt a little sterile to me, but I actually really do like it. It's a very industrial kitchen with stainless steel countertops, stainless steel accents, but I still want it to feel like me. So this is where I layered in adding these shelves. I got these white shelves. They're metal from Amazon. And I love buying and collecting glassware, so this was another way to show things that are pretty but also functional. So it's very easy to get a glass of water, make a cup of coffee. Everything's right here. I always keep coffee and oatmeal in these canisters, and then have a little cooking station here. And I also like it because when I have friends over, it's very obvious where my glasses are, so people feel very comfortable helping themselves, grabbing a wine glass and then going over to this beautiful wine fridge, something that I've never had in one of my homes before, but I've grown to really love. It's a Viking appliance wine fridge and holds a lot of wine at the perfectly chilled temperature. So, my guests can come here and help themselves, and my goal is for everyone to always feel welcome and help themselves and, not make anything too fussy. One of my favorite things to do is to cook. It's something that really helps me unwind, and I love cooking for friends and family, or if it's just myself or my husband. But this space is so nice because I can stand here, be cooking, and see everyone in the apartment and not feel like I'm buried away by myself while I'm cooking. So I really like the layout of this space because it allows me to be with everyone while I'm working. So if you're looking to incorporate pieces from your home that are not from big box wholesaler stores and are vintage or one-of-a-kind pieces, There are many websites where you could do so. Some of my favorites are estatesales.net and Live Auctioneers, and you could put in your zip code and find auction houses or estate sales that are local to you. So being in New York, there's a lot of amazing ones in New Jersey and Connecticut and Long Island, so that's primarily where I source from. My advice to someone that's really looking to make their house feel like a home is to find things that really define your journey. And I know that sounds cliche, but if you love going to your grandmother's beach house in Cape Cod, go to a local thrift store, go to a local antique shop, and find something that feels like it's from Cape Cod and reminds you of those trips with your family. So in my home, there's a lot of that. Wherever I travel to, I actually end up going to local thrift stores and not really the souvenir shops where you're gonna find things that are more mass produced, but you might find a book or an ashtray or a vase or something like that, and it will remind you of that trip, and over time it really starts to feel like you, and you look around and it brings back all these memories, and it feels very natural and it feels very organic. Right off the living room is our bedroom, which I'm gonna show you right now. We have these nice sliding doors, and I really wanted my bedroom to feel as serene as possible, and personally I think I achieved that. I got this beautiful 4-poster bed from Interior Define, another great company that does really nice upholstery pieces. And I have had these pillows for a while. I think I get so many questions about them. The fabric designer is Kelly Wersler, and they were custom made. And then I also paired it with these beautiful CB2 sconces that also kind of give height to the room. And I also added in some artwork just from Minted and Target. My initial design for this bedroom was to have a space that felt really, really relaxing. This is a pretty good space to work with. There's room for two, pretty sizable nightstands. These are from Amazon, another great find that I get questions about all the time. I think finding nightstands is very challenging. But then you move over to this area, and I didn't really know what to do with this space. So this was like a little bit of a design challenge for me, but I came up with the idea to add this long, skinny skirted table. So underneath is just a long, thin metal table from Amazon, and I had the same Etsy seller make me this beautiful skirt, and it kind of just framed this entire window really beautifully. And again, like the view is not ideal, and I wanted a little bit more privacy, so I put a mirror up against the window actually, and it reflects light, it makes the room feel bigger and gives me that element of privacy that I needed. But then the biggest game changer was adding in drapes. I think that's what really gave it the more luxurious hotel-like private feel that I was really looking for. And so I got these from a company called 2 Pages. They're a very easy company to work with, have a bunch of different fabrics at a very reasonable price, and you can custom input the sizes that you needed. These are pretty tall ceilings, and I'm really pleased with how they came out, and it was definitely the finishing touch on the bedroom that it really needed. I styled the table by adding in these really fun lamps from Zara Home. It kind of tied back in the stainless steel that you see in the rest of the house, and kind of gave it a little bit more of a modern feel because everything else in here is a little bit more classic and pared back. So I thought these lamps were perfect. They're still neutral. They add a really beautiful glow. We have shades that also come down. So when the shades come down at night and we close the curtains, I keep the lamps on, and it adds really the most beautiful, relaxing glow ever. I styled the rest of the table with mementos and again boxes to hide and conceal things, books, candle, and I found this flower. It's actually not real, but I think it looks real, and I love the silhouette it gives, and I don't know, I just loved how this turned out. I really didn't know what to do with this space, and it's functional and it's pretty, it's practical, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I recently added the frame TV. There's nothing I enjoy more than getting home from work or after a busy day and getting into bed and watching my favorite show. Underneath the frame TV is this CB2 dresser. It's from my very, very first apartment in New York City from when I was 22 years old. I was decorating my first apartment, didn't have a lot to work with, but I saw this knew I loved it and wanted it so badly. And my grandmother actually, who is now passed, my late grandmother, purchased it for me as a gift. And I love it. I will never get rid of it because she bought it for me, and it was, something that I was so excited to have, and it still works. And so when I do buy other pieces, I really try to think of things that I will always have, kind of like this piece. So my career, like most people, was not linear, and I did not know what I wanted to do when I grew up, even in college. And so my first job in the city was being an executive assistant at a financial firm. I kind of used that as a stepping stone to figure out what I really wanted to do. But to my surprise, it was the best decision of my life. It's a job that I really, really enjoyed doing and taught me so much and helped me learn and grow and understand an industry so quickly. And I never thought I'd be working in finance. I love it, and I ended up meeting my husband at work too. So when I say it was the best decision of my life, I really, really mean that. But when COVID came around and you're just trying to entertain yourself and come up with new ways to make every day feel different, and TikTok simultaneously came along, I started documenting my apartment and my houses upstate and where I was finding pieces and how I was decorating things. And with that, I kind of grew a following through TikTok, and I've shared now my journey collecting pieces and making this home in New York really feel like a home. So between that and my career in finance, and then my upstate homes as well, they all kind of tie together in some weird way, but I really, really enjoy having both sides of my brain working in different ways. I love my creative side, but I also really love my job, and I love that serious part of my life. And I think I love the interior stuff because it's an outlet for me. On the side from my corporate day job, I also like to create content on TikTok, and I was able to grow a little bit of a following through sharing my experience decorating my Catskills home as a first-time homeowner. And I've taken my followers along on bringing this apartment together, and that's been really fun. I think, living in the city, it could be a little bit of a design challenge to decorate for a small space and decorate for a renter. And I think that content resonates with a lot of people because a lot of people are in the same boat, and everyone's trying to figure out how to decorate their space that's not necessarily a space that they built for themselves, but want it to work for them and for the time in their life that they're there for. And so I think renting content does really well because a lot of people can relate to it. Right to the right is the guest bedroom, and the guest bedroom also doubles as an office for us and also has its own bathroom. So the guest bedroom is really nice because it's like its own wing of the house. And when we have guests here, it feels very private for them. That my bedroom is on the other side of the living room, so we don't share walls or anything like that. Now we are in my guest room / office. So my goal when designing this room was to make it feel like a hotel for my guests. So I thought that this bedding with the piping around it kind of reminded me of the Gramercy Hotel in New York, and I love that beautiful like rust color. And so that bedding actually was kind of what drove the rest of the design per se. And I got these luggage racks from Amazon, and I like for when my guests to get here to feel very comfortable, immediately know where they could put their bags down, and again, give it kind of that hotel amenity vibe. I found these two really cool swivel mohair chairs on an auction. They were in New Jersey, and I had my dad go pick them up for me, and I also thought that they just gave me this hotel lobby vibe that I thought was perfect to put at the edge of the bed, and then also pull back into that rusty color in the bedding. So as I mentioned, this room does double as the office for my husband and I. My husband, his biggest love in life after me are books. So it was a little bit of a design challenge for me to find a place for all of his books, which resulted in me finding a proper bookshelf. And so I recently got this from Ballard Designs, and I really love what it did to the room. And also it all houses all of his books, his prized possessions. And again, it adds a very beautiful layer of color and interest, and like someone lives here. And again, when my guests are here, there's books for them. And so I really do like how this turned out. And then I just added in these silver lamps. I think they're polished chrome from Amazon. So obviously I live with my husband, who his style has, yes, come to evolve similar to mine, but also his needs and his likes are different than mine. So want to obviously make this space feel like him too. And so this was my way of doing that. So I gifted this bookshelf to him as a place for him to have all of his books and be near his office and kind of be like his space, while it all still tying into the guest bedroom decor. I found this beautiful leather wrapped desk on CB2. And this was the foundation for the whole desk area. I really liked the scale of this. I liked that it had texture and it fit this space perfectly. And then from there, I wanted to figure out how I could do a little bit of a gallery wall, but I didn't want to spend too much money, so I actually painted these myself. I had my friend over for wine one night and we were just painting random shapes off of something we saw on Pinterest. And you know what? I like how it turned out. So there's really no overhead lighting in the bedroom, so it was really important to bring as much lighting into the space as possible. So just at an eye's glance here, I think I have 5 or 6 lamps, but these sconces I found on Etsy. They were very reasonable and they just drill right into the wall and plug in next to the bed. And I really like that it gave me that hotel vibe that I was really going after. So you may have picked up on that I have drawn a lot of inspiration and have bought things in London. London is a very special place to both myself and my husband. I studied abroad there and my husband grew up there and spent a lot of his childhood there, and we go about 3 or 4 times a year. We both have family there that we like to go see, and we love vacationing in the English countryside. So my husband and I were in the Hamptons last summer and we saw this really fun canvas piece of art, and I mentioned to him that I really liked it, and a couple months later in October for my birthday opened this up, and I really, really love it. It's fun, it's interesting, and it reminds me of shopping with my husband, and then also it was so nice that he thought of me to buy this. Right now we're in my guest bathroom. There's nothing really special about it, but I did want to point out that I had this custom shower curtain made, again, to tie in that like rusty orange color. I think having a monogram shower curtain just added to the whole hotel vibe. This is my apartment hallway. As you know, I'm a renter, so I really relied on peel and stick wallpaper to really give the entryway this warm and inviting feel, and also really speak to my style, which is classic, but a little bit of modern and a little bit of some antiques. So I started off actually with this piece here. It's a burl console table from CB2. I was really on the hunt for something that would fit the space, but also hide things. So as you know, if you live in a city, hiding things and storage is one of the biggest things you have to deal with as a renter or living in a small space. And so this fits about 20 pairs of our shoes, and I love not having to look at clutter, so this piece really makes me happy for that reason alone. I got this light from Pookie Lighting. If you don't know them, definitely look them up. This is a rechargeable sconce, so no electrical needed. We just drilled it in and you can charge it whenever you want. And got this mirror from Target and put a couple of little things to make it feel collected, which is my favorite word. And even something like this I got from an antique store visiting my friend in Rhode Island, and it hides things like gum, chargers, keys, stuff like that. Like, I really like everything to look clean and hidden. So this hallway is a really good testament, I think, to my style. It's warm, it's inviting, it's clean, it's classic, it's fun, there's art, there's lights, and so this was the starting point for when my guests walk in. Home means to me a place that you are so happy and grateful to wake up to in the morning. You're excited to make your coffee, you're excited to get ready for work, and then also the place that you're excited to come home to relax and unwind. And when I come home, I want it to feel a little bit like a hotel experience personally. So you'll find the candles, the scents, the lighting, the fluffy robes, the towels. Like, I want every single part of my home to feel like an experience and really feel like a place where I can decompress. but also it's a place to have fun and it's a place to have people over and entertain. So I also love to cook, I love to host dinner parties, I love having my friends over, and I want it to be a place where everyone feels comfortable. I envisioned my friends here and I envisioned my family here, and so I tried to find a place for everyone in my home, and that is what home means to me. It's a place for everyone and it's a place for you to really unwind and relax.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.